Before we start, tell me where you're listening from in the comments. Maybe you're 25 years old trying to figure out the direction of your life. Maybe you're in your 30s wondering if you made the right choices. Maybe you're in your 40s thinking about advice you'd give to young people. Or maybe it doesn't matter how old you are, you just want to learn what a 25-year-old needs to know. This conversation is for you. When I was 25, I thought I knew everything. I had left Stanford, founded my first company, had big plans for the future. But looking back, I realize I knew nothing. The me at that age needed the me today. If I could go back in time and talk to my 25-year-old self, I would tell him 20 critical things. These 20 things changed my life, made me billions of dollars, but more importantly, made me truly happy. Today, I'll share these 20 lessons with you. If I had learned these at 25, maybe we would have reached Mars 10 years earlier. Maybe I would have founded Tesla earlier. Maybe I would have made fewer mistakes. But maybe everything happened as it should have, because learning these lessons the hard way allowed me to understand them more deeply. Lesson 1. Time is your most valuable asset. You can make money back. You can't make time back. At 25, I thought time was infinite. I'm young, even if I fail, I can start over. I thought. This was a big mistake. Time is a one-way flowing river. You can't get it back. You can't stop it. You can't slow it down. When you're 25, it seems like you have 15 to 20 productive years ahead of you. But in reality, you might only have 10 to 12 years when you can be truly productive, when your energy and motivation are at their peak. How you use these 10 to 12 years determines the rest of your life. I wasted too much time when I was 25. I attended unimportant meetings, worked on projects that added no value, read irrelevant books. If I had dedicated that time to Tesla and SpaceX, we would be much further ahead today. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, ask yourself every day, will this activity matter in 10 years? If the answer is no, stop doing it. Time management is more important than money management. Because you lose money, you can make it back. You lose time, it's gone forever. Lesson 2. Learn first principles thinking. Don't copy others' solutions. At 25, I constantly looked at what others were doing. Successful people do this, so I should do this too. I thought. This approach never makes you truly successful. First principles thinking is breaking down every problem to its fundamental truths and building solutions from the ground up. This is creating, not copy-pasting. Example, they said the rocket industry was too expensive. Everyone accepted this is how it should be. I reduced it to first principles. Rocket materials are actually very cheap. What's expensive is the process of turning these materials into rockets. So how do we optimize this process? Answer: reusable rockets. This idea came from first principles thinking. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, never accept everyone does it this way. For every topic, ask, is this really the best way, or is it just habit? First principles thinking gives you the power to never fall behind in any field, because you can understand the fundamental principles needed for success in every field. Lesson 3. Your fears are your compass. Even if it seems scary, it shows the direction of growth. At 25, I ran from my fears. I was afraid of public speaking, afraid of taking big risks, afraid of criticism. These fears kept me in my comfort zone. Then I realized, fear gives you the address of growth. What you fear most is probably the area where you need to grow most. I was afraid of public speaking because my communication skills were weak. I accepted this fear and worked in this area. Today I can comfortably address millions of people. I was afraid of taking big risks because I misunderstood the concept of failure. I learned to see failure not as an endpoint, but as a learning process. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, fear isn't your enemy, it's your guide. Whatever you're afraid of, that's where you need to work. Your fears give you two important pieces of information. First, which area you need to develop in. Second, which area you can find big opportunities in. Because areas everyone fears are areas with the least competition. Lesson 4. Working and being productive are different things. Count results, not hours. At 25, I didn't know the difference between working hard and working efficiently. I worked 14 to 16 hours a day, but often focused on the wrong things. Productivity is measured by results, not hours. 2 hours of focused work is more valuable than 10 hours of distracted work. Secrets of efficient work. Do the most important work during your most energetic hours. For me, this is 4 to 8 a.m. It might be different for you. Don't multitask. The human brain cannot do multiple complex tasks simultaneously. Focus. Apply the 80-20 rule. 20% of your work produces 80% of your results. Find that 20%. Learn to say no. Saying yes to every opportunity means not being able to fully evaluate any opportunity. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, be proud of what you accomplished, not how many hours you worked. Fatigue is not success. Lesson 5. Build your network, but focus on creating mutual value. At 25, I misunderstood networking. I thought the number of people I knew was important. I approached it with a know many, befriend few mentality. Real networking is creating mutual value. It's asking, how can I add value to this person? Not, what can this person do for me? Quality over quantity. Having 10 real professional friends is more valuable than having 1,000 acquaintances. Give first. Focus on adding value to people before expecting anything from them. This approach provides the biggest return in the long run. What I tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, see people not as tools to use, but as partners to grow with. The strongest networks are built on mutual respect and value. My best partners, Gwynn Shotwell, J.B. Straubel, are people who became friends first, then business partners. Because these relationships are based on trust, they become even stronger during crisis moments. Lesson 6. Money is a tool, not a goal. But financial literacy is critical. At 25, I made two big mistakes about money. Either I thought about it too much, or I didn't think about it at all. Both are harmful. Money is important, but it's not the goal. Money buys freedom. Freedom to make your own decisions. Freedom to take risks. Freedom to do value-creating work. Financial literacy basics. How compound interest works. What the relationship between risk and return is. Why diversification is important. When debt is beneficial. When it's harmful. How to manage cash flow. What I tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, don't be obsessed with money, but don't ignore it either. Learn financial literacy, but don't make money your ultimate goal. My biggest mistake, investing all my money in Tesla and SpaceX after selling PayPal. It was crazy from a risk perspective, but right from a vision perspective. Still, I should have been more careful about risk management. Lesson 7. Learn how to learn. Diplomas end, education never does. At 25, I had left Stanford. My family was worried. My friends couldn't understand. But I had realized formal education and real learning are different things. Formal education teaches you what to learn. Real learning teaches you how to learn. Effective learning techniques. First principles learning. Understand not just what happens, but why it happens. Active application. Apply what you read immediately. Bridge the gap between theory and practice. Learn from various sources. Books, podcasts, videos, talking with experienced people. Teach what you learn to others. The proof that you truly understand a topic is being able to explain it to someone else. What I tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, leaving university was the right decision, but never stop learning. Continue learning something every day. When I founded Tesla, I had zero knowledge about automotive. When I founded SpaceX, I had zero knowledge about space technology. but I had learning skills. That was enough. Lesson 8. Failure is inevitable and necessary, but don't make the same mistake twice. At 25, I was very afraid of failure. This fear prevented me from taking big risks, therefore preventing me from achieving big successes. Failure is a natural part of life, inevitable. But every failure teaches you something, which makes it valuable. Strategies for dealing with failure. Fail fast, learn faster. Fail quickly, learn more quickly. Rather than continuing on the wrong path for a long time, understand the mistake quickly. Post-mortem analysis. After every failure, ask, what went wrong? Why? How do we prevent it next time? Separate ego from failure. The project failed, not you. Don't measure your personal worth by results. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, failure isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. But don't learn the same lesson twice. The first 3 rocket failures at SpaceX almost destroyed me. But each failure contributed to the success of the 4th rocket. Without failure, there would be no success. Lesson 9. Health is wealth. Health comes before everything. At 25, I thought I was young and strong. I ignored my health. I slept irregularly, ate poorly, didn't exercise. I'm young. My body can handle everything, I thought. This was a big mistake. During the big crisis period of 2018, my health completely deteriorated. That's when I realized that without health, nothing else matters. Non-negotiables for health. Sleep. At least 6 to 7 hours of quality sleep per day. Sleep deprivation destroys creativity and decision-making ability. Nutrition. Your body is fuel. If you put in quality fuel, you get quality performance. Exercise. Physical health also affects mental health. Movement is medicine for the body. Stress management. Chronic stress destroys the immune system. Learn to manage stress. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, without your health, wealth, success, even love becomes meaningless. Invest in your health. My most productive periods were when I paid the most attention to my health. Health and success support each other. Lesson 10. Relationships matter more than you think, but quality over quantity. At 25, I put relationships second, career first, relationships later. I thought. This approach was both wrong and harmful. Humans are social animals. Without relationships, neither happiness nor sustainable success is possible. Valuable relationship types. Mentors. People who guide you and share their experiences. Peers. People at your level who grow mutually with you. Team members. People you work with and trust. Family. People who love unconditionally and are with you in every situation. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, relationships are an investment. Time spent on relationships is never wasted. During my strongest periods, I had a strong team beside me. During my most difficult periods, these relationships kept me standing. Lesson 11. Read, read, read. Books are the cheapest university. At 25, I read a lot, but randomly. I didn't have a systematic reading plan. This was inefficient. Books offer you thousands of years of human experience. You can learn from others' mistakes, benefit from others' knowledge. Effective reading strategies. Read in various fields. Instead of specializing in one field, gain knowledge in multiple fields. Take notes and apply. Active learning, not passive reading. Write summaries. Write down the main ideas you extracted from the book. Share with others. Discuss what you read. This deepens your understanding. Book categories I'd recommend. Biographies. Learn from other people's experiences. Science. Understand how the world works. Philosophy. Think about the meaning of life. Business. Acquire practical skills. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self. Elon, every book you read adds a new perspective to you. Reading is the ultimate hack for learning. Lesson 12. Don't chase trends, create them. Be a leader, not a follower. At 25, I constantly followed trends. What's popular now? Let me focus on that too. I thought. This was a reactive approach. Following trends can bring you short-term success, but never breakthrough success. Because when you follow a trend, you stay behind the person who created it. To become a trend creator, think 10 to 20 years ahead. Not what's popular now, but what will be important in the future. See people's real needs, deep needs, not surface-level desires. Watch technology convergence. How can different technologies combine? What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, don't follow trends, predict the future. Focus on important things no one is interested in yet, not things everyone is already interested in. When we founded Tesla, electric cars weren't popular at all. When I founded SpaceX, private space companies seemed impossible. But I could see that these would be important in the future. Lesson 13. Your 20s are for experimenting. Use your risk-taking capacity. At 25, your risk-taking capacity is at its highest level in your life. Few responsibilities, low dependency, lots of flexible time. Not using this advantage, being hesitant about taking risks, means missing the biggest opportunity of your life. Why the 20s are ideal for taking risks. Low financial burden. No big financial obligations like mortgage, children, healthcare yet. High energy, physical and mental energy at its highest level. High flexibility. Many options available geographically and career-wise. Lots of recovery time. If you fail, you have lots of time to try again. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, this is your biggest chance to take risks. Don't miss this opportunity. You won't be able to take risks this comfortably in your 40s. When we founded PayPal, I was 28. If I hadn't taken that risk, none of this would be possible today. Lesson 14. Build systems, not just goals. Systems take you to your destination. At 25, I only set goals but didn't build systems. I had the goal of becoming a millionaire, but no system for how. Goals give you direction. Systems take you to the destination. Building effective systems, daily habits. Small activities you'll repeat every day. Weekly reviews, routine for tracking your progress. Monthly adjustments, making necessary changes to the system. Feedback loops, measuring results and optimizing the system. Example system. If my goal is reading, I build a system of reading 30 minutes every day. If my goal is getting fit, I build a system of exercising 3 times a week. What I tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, first build a system for your goals. Systems compound over time. Tesla and SpaceX's success came from big visions, but it resulted from turning these visions into systems. Lesson 15. Don't optimize for short-term pleasure. Long-term thinking wins. At 25, I was very much after instant gratification. I wanted immediate results, had trouble with long-term thinking. The biggest successes come from long-term thinking. But long-term thinking requires discipline, requires patience. Long-term versus short-term mindset. Short-term, what does this get me right now? Long-term, what does this get me in 10 years? Short-term, what's the easiest way? Long-term, what's the most sustainable way? Short-term, how do I feel right now? Long-term, how do I want to feel in the future? What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, ask this in every decision. Where does this take me in 10 years? Don't let short-term pleasure create long-term pain. Tesla's first years weren't profitable at all. If I had thought short-term, I would have quit. But the long-term vision created a sustainable transportation revolution. Lesson 16. Your environment shapes you. Choose your environment carefully. At 25, I underestimated how my environment affected me. I'm a strong person. My environment doesn't affect me. I thought. This was wrong. People are products of their environments. Who is around you, where you live, what you consume shapes you. Environment's areas of influence. Social environment. Who do you spend time with? Physical environment. Where do you live? Work. Information environment. What do you read, watch, listen to? Cultural environment. What values surround you? What I'd tell my 25-year-old self. Elon, choose your environment carefully. You become the average of the 5 people you spend most time with. Moving to Silicon Valley was a turning point for my career. Because there everyone was thinking about entrepreneurship. Lesson 17. Learn to sell. Everything is sales, starting with selling yourself. At 25, I turned my nose up at sales. I'm an engineer. Sales isn't my job. I thought. This was a huge mistake. Everything in life is sales. Job interview, you're selling yourself. Investor pitch, you're selling your vision. Team building, you're selling the mission. Relationship, you're selling your personality. Sales skills, storytelling. People remember stories, not facts. Listening, good selling starts with good listening. Problem identification, understanding people's real problems. Solution articulation, being able to clearly explain your solution. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, selling isn't manipulation, it's creating value. It's telling people about things that are truly beneficial. I won Tesla's first customers by doing sales myself, because I could sell the vision of an electric future. Lesson 18. Mental models matter. Develop how you understand the world. At 25, I only used intuition to understand the world. I didn't know systematic thinking frameworks. Mental models are the frameworks you use to understand the world. Better mental models mean better decisions. Useful mental models, first principles thinking, reducing everything to fundamental truths. Compound interest, small changes creating big effects over time. Opportunity cost, when you make a choice, you lose other choices. Pareto principle, 80-20. 20% of effort produces 80% of results. Inversion, finding what you want by thinking about what you don't want. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, mental models are your decision-making superpowers. The more models you know, the better decisions you make. I constantly use these models at SpaceX and Tesla. I analyze rocket costs with first principles, focus on the most important engineering problems with 80-20. Lesson 19. Master your psychology. Your biggest enemy is your own mind. At 25, I ignored psychology. I'm a rational person. Emotions don't affect me, I thought. This was a huge self-delusion. The human brain evolved for survival, not to be rational. That's why it often misleads us in the modern world. Common psychological biases. Confirmation bias. Only seeing information that supports your view. Loss aversion. Fear of losing is stronger than desire to gain. Sunk cost fallacy. Continuing a bad project because you've already invested. Dunning-Kruger effect. Thinking you know a lot when you know little. Psychology mastery techniques. Self-awareness. Know your own patterns and triggers. Mindfulness. Ability to stay in the present moment. Emotional regulation. Controlling your emotions, not reacting to them. Cognitive flexibility. Changing your views according to evidence. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, your biggest struggle will be internal, not external. Master your own mind. During the 2018 crisis, my biggest struggle was psychological. I knew how to solve technical problems, but I didn't know how to deal with stress, anxiety, depression. Lesson 20. Life is short, but legacy is forever. Think about what you'll leave behind. At 25, I thought I was immortal. Death was a very distant concept. That's why I didn't think about legacy. But the truth is, life is very short. On average, 80 to 90 years. Only 20 to 30 years of that is truly productive. What you do during this time matters. Benefits of thinking about legacy. Perspective. Daily problems seem small. Priority. You separate what's truly important from what's unimportant. Motivation. A purpose bigger than yourself gives you energy. Meaning. Your life becomes more meaningful. Legacy questions. How will the world be different after I die? How will people remember me? What problems will I have solved? Who will live a better life because of me? What I'd tell my 25-year-old self. Elon. Focus not just on being successful, but on being significant. Money, fame are temporary, but your contribution to humanity is eternal. Sustainable transportation with Tesla, multiplanetary life with SpaceX, brain-computer symbiosis with Neuralink. All of these came from legacy thinking. Bonus lesson 21. Enjoy the journey. Don't get stuck on goals, miss the process. This is a bonus lesson because I never thought about it at 25, but now I understand it's the most important one. Success is not a destination, it's a journey. If you only think, I'll be happy when I succeed, you'll never be happy. Because every success brings a new challenge. Ways to enjoy the journey. Celebrate small wins. Celebrate not just big successes, but small progress too. Focus on the process. Enjoy the process rather than the results. Gratitude practice. Think about things you're grateful for every day. Present moment awareness. Don't forget to live the moment while planning the future. What I'd tell my 25-year-old self, Elon, success is not a destination, it's a journey. Enjoy the journey, because the destination isn't as satisfying as you think. My happiest moments weren't when I achieved big successes, but when I was working with the team, solving problems, learning something new. Conclusion. Being 25 is a privilege. Don't miss the opportunity. If you're currently 25 or around that age, you're living the most important period of your life. High energy, low responsibility, infinite possibility. If I had known these 20 lessons at 25, maybe we would have reached Mars 5 years earlier. Maybe I would have grown Tesla through a smoother process. Maybe I would have worked with less stress, more joy. Maybe I would have been more successful in personal relationships. But maybe everything happened as it should have. Because learning these lessons the hard way allowed me to understand them more deeply. The challenge I leave you with now. Take these 20 lessons and apply them to your own life. Determine which areas you need to improve. Make a concrete action plan for each. Start implementing today. My final message. 25 is a magical age. Not too young, not too old. Exactly the age when you can take risks, learn, grow. Don't waste this opportunity. The world is waiting for your contribution. But to make a contribution, you first need to develop yourself. These 20 lessons are your roadmap. Now go and change the world. When you're 25 is the best time to do it. Share this video with everyone who's 25 or young. Subscribe because I'll continue our conversations about success, growth, and life. And remember, the best investment is the investment you make in yourself. Make good use of your 25 years, because you'll never be 25 again.